Jamie Gillies is on the line now. Jamie's a spokesman for the Be Reasonable campaign. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning.
So tell me about Be Reasonable and your stance then on smacking children.
Yeah, so the Be Reasonable campaign does not support the idea of a smacking ban. We think that smacking is a decision for parents. And this law, which is being proposed by the government, is not about violence or abuse against children. We say the law is very clear as it stands. Any parent that does go too far or is violent towards a child can expect to be investigated by the police and prosecuted for assault. But this bill would make actions which are by definition reasonable, light physical discipline, an assault and an offence under law. And we think that's something that the Welsh public really don't want. The Children's Committee released its report today on the legislation. And the consultation which the committee held earlier this year found that 7 in 10 individuals in Wales do not want a ban on smacking. 6 in 10 responses overall from parents and organisations and professionals don't want a smacking ban. So our position is that the government is taking the wrong approach. It needs to be focusing on other priorities. And this law risks criminalising good parents, ordinary loving families who are simply doing their best to bring up their children. The committee's report, which came out this morning, it lists serious concerns about the smacking law, not least a letter from the Ministry of Justice to Lynn Neagle, chair of the committee, which says that a smacking ban could be weaponised in divorce proceedings. Parents vying for custody of children may level false allegations of smacking against each other in order to get custody of the kids. And in short, a smacking ban could cause further turmoil and distress to families who are already navigating the difficult territory of divorce. Other concerns with the legislation include a black hole at the centre in terms of its impact on social services, which would bear the brunt of responsibility for upholding this legislation. The government's not been able to provide a baseline for how many additional cases social work departments will have to deal with, how much extra resources social workers will need. But the government estimates that thousands of parents will be caught under this law. And we'd say this is unacceptable when social workers are already under a huge burden.
Okay, we'll take all... No, it's fine. We'll take all that on board. But you mentioned loving parents, loving families. When this is about protection of children, surely any loving parent would welcome more protection for their child. And isn't smacking, we've heard about it already this morning, smacking equals lack of control, loss of temper. Smacking is a last resort. Smacking means a parent is losing control of their own emotions, and actually this will make it very clear that if it's not acceptable to smack an adult, it's certainly not acceptable to smack a child.
No, well, we don't agree with that, and we believe that the majority of people in Wales don't agree with that stance either. This law is not about violence against children, and it's clear that thousands of parents in Wales will sometimes use very light physical discipline with their kids, like a tap on the hand or on the bottom when they behave wrongly, and that's something which parents think they should continue to be allowed to do. And the law is not going to be changed to provide further protections for children by the smacking ban. By definition, it's only going to criminalise actions which are very reasonable. So it's interesting, actually, that in the consultation, many people who responded, there's 650 responses by people in Wales, they outlined important priorities which the government should pursue apart from a smacking ban. They said that the government should be dealing with the NHS, with education, with homelessness, with improving the lives of abused children, parent support services, and giving support to parents. Your caller, Julie, who spoke to you beforehand, talked about how the government should be helping parents and supporting them in their parenting decisions. But this law would remove a defence and leave parents open to prosecution. And we think it's too far. That's the wrong approach for the government to be taking.
Jamie, let me tell you that many messages I'm having reading here this morning are actually agreeing with your stance on this. Let me read a couple to you. Sue in Cardiff called to say there are different parameters when it comes to smacking children. There's nothing wrong with a little tap on the back of the leg. It didn't do me any harm. We're not talking about really hard slaps or anything here. The government introducing this is really problematic. Then Gareth says, come on, there's smacking and then there's abuse. Let's just have an ounce of common sense here, shall we? I'm just reading what's coming in here. If you disagree with these texts, you're welcome to get in touch this morning. 10, 12. So, Jamie, my question to you is, what next? Will you be taking any legal action to challenge this smacking ban?
Well, just now our campaign is focusing on mobilising the public to write to their politicians, and we'd encourage the public to do that, to write to AMs and express these views which they've been expressing to you. There's going to be a vote on this legislation in September, the stage 1 votes, and we hope that AMs will oppose this legislation, not least because the vast majority of their constituents don't want this law, and because the concerns outlined in the report are huge and they've not been addressed by the government. So I'm encouraged to hear that your callers agree with me. I think it's common sense, basically. The government should be investing in social services and in the police and helping them to do the great work they're already doing, not threatening to criminalise good parents.
Jamie Gillies, spokesman for the Be Reasonable campaign. Thank you for joining us on BBC Radio Wales.